Seattle to check out the playoff experience. Now, Crepo, the crowd loves you. How have you been enjoying your PAX experience so far?
It's really fun to be at big conventions like Gamescom and like PAX because the crowd just goes absolutely bonkers whenever something happens. And it's really fun to be a spectator one time now because I'm not going to lose any games in the playoffs for once. But yeah, it's really fun to be here. Crowd's always good. A lot of nice people, meet a lot of fans, and watch some good games.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of those good games, I really have been enjoying this TSM LMQ matchup so far. One thing that stood out to me was side bush control has been really important in the duo lanes, where you spend a lot of time. What do you think about these supports? We've seen a new trend where some of them rush mobility boots and don't get the sight zone for a lot longer, so it's harder to control that vision in the side bushes.
I think it's good. I picked it up like a couple of weeks ago as well because the time it takes for me to run from base to bot lane, if you buy Moby Boots, you can run to the enemy wolf camp, place a ward, and come back to bot lane in roughly the same time. And then you have really deep vision. The only thing you need to watch out for is like you have slightly fewer wards, but you can play around that. You don't have to face check that. I mean,
it's quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
All right, so for the rest of this series, it's now evened up 1-1. What are your predictions moving forward here? How do you think TSM and LMQ are shaping up?
I think LMQ always brings a lot of action, so I love watching them. But I really feel the switch from Kha'Zix on Amazing back to Lee Sin, another Sidestone jungler, really helps them with their vision control. Because Lush Boy, he puts like the first piece, and vision is like a chain reaction. So once somebody puts a few wards, that allows you to get more wards even deeper. And I really feel the double Sidestone is so fundamental to TSM's success, because if you ask any team they scrim, they constantly talk about how good their vision control is. But when Amazing plays Kha'Zix, he can't build Sidestone, and that kind of crumbles. And you saw this game, they made so many picks, they had such good control again. And on top of that, banning out the Zillion was really smart, I think, because it just allows Vasily to jump in and die twice instead of just once.
That's a good point. We have seen, especially with Dignitas also, having a jungler ward with you makes it so much safer, easier on the support. You don't have to die going for those dangerous wards. All right, well, thank you very much, Crepo, for your input. Now we're going to send it back over to the guys at the analyst desk.
Thanks, Kobe. A very decisive game there by TSM. So a bit of a turnaround from the first game. Something I want to look at immediately, though, is the number of contested picks we have in Champion Select. We're seeing Ryze being a huge priority. Now we have the Tristana between the two AD carries. So do we expect to see bans on those high priorities and force people onto, more uncomfortable champions in the future games?
I think that if they're going to be banned, they're going to be red side banned, but you don't want to sacrifice any of the bans that you're currently throwing out here if you're TSM or LMQ. Ryze has been first pick both times. It was actually kind of to dissuade the Yasuo, I think, when LMQ picked it up, saying that we'll get Yasuo ourselves if you guys don't pick it, but if you pick it, we have a counter pick in team fights. And then you saw there, Dyrus, he did get 1v1'd by Xiao later on that Ryze, but the fact that he had that Ryze in team fights really just shut him down. There was a Baron fight, there was that last fight of the game where the Rune Prison just really makes Yasuo a non-factor.
And probably we saw another early 4-minute gank by No Name top lane this time, picking up another early kill for LMQ. So it seemed like the game was going to follow the same trends as the first. However, just explain to me exactly what TSM did this time in order to slow them down and keep themselves in the game without getting any kills. They were down 3-0 at one point.
I think the big difference between this game and the last one, or 2 games ago, was they got the first blood top lane, and that actually doesn't really give you much dragon pressure. When they killed bot lane had a pure advantage. They were able to shove bot lane, and then they can rotate to dragon. And in this case, they were able to get a kill on Ryze, and then Dyrus actually was able to stay in lane long enough to get a TP advantage, and then just walk straight down to dragon. And at that point, LMQ just had to give it up. And that kind of not even offset the first blood, but gave them an advantage over the first blood.
Now, at the beginning of the game, Reginald sent out a tweet saying that the pep talk he gave to his team, and we actually showed the tweet in the middle of the match, but the pep talk he gave was, "Hey guys, this is no longer a best of 5 playoff series; it's a scrim." Is that the kind of mindset that TSM needs to be in? Especially you, probably you've played them in scrims. How differently do they play when they're on stage versus when they're in a scrim?
I think it's pretty similar to all teams. Everyone has kind of the luxury to play more aggressive, more of the style they want to, because they're not playing for the team necessarily in a scrim. They're kind of wanting to improve the team and improve themselves. So yeah, TSM in scrims is similar to LMQ. They play way more aggressive. So, yeah, if they want to treat it like a scrim, I'd say they definitely have a better chance of winning that way.
Let's take a look at some of their aggression as we saw Tristana jump in at about 23 minutes into the game. They get a pick in the mid lane. We're going to pull up this replay. Zyrene, go ahead and walk me through this because it's a pretty big change in terms of the flow of the game.
All right, well, we'll start rolling the clip out now. You can see that TSM, they're at the Dragon, but this is actually when they get the Shockwave pick on, and then this leads up to a Baron eventually. We do see the Tristana jumping in, and they have that reset there, but he just closes the distance. They get no name. The jungler's off the field. You lost your control around the Baron, and LMQ, they aren't even set up to counter this at all. They aren't set up to walk in there, so they go in this blind. They have to get a vision ward in there. They put the stealth ward up, and then Bjergsen, he pulls off as if he's out of position, and Xiao tries to section him off, and there's the Rise Rune Prison to shut down Yasuo's gap closer, to shut down his damage, and he completely gets zoned out of the fight and destroyed immediately. I love that Bjergsen feinted out of the pit to pull Xiao and his aggression towards him, because it baited him completely.
Yeah, very decisive calling here. This time on the side of TSM, netted them 2 more kills there than the 2 they had already gotten in the mid lane. So a pretty huge gold swing. Now from there, the game kind of exploded in terms of speed. TSM roamed around the map. We saw the usual kind of team play style, their aggression, and they matched LMQ's aggression. So now, in the first game, I had asked you guys what you do against LMQ's aggression. Probably you said match it with more aggression. That's exactly what they did. So what's the adjustment that LMQ makes now? As they've seen, TSM's not afraid to bring it to them.
Yeah, I think LMQ needs to make sure they're getting that Rise top lane, because Ackerman definitely seems a lot more comfortable on Rise than on Mundo. He can make more plays and kind of thing like that. I do think they're doing well with the Yasuo pick. I don't think they should change that really. And then bot lane, I would say they just need to kind of pick for lane and kind of try to crush Blessed Boy and Wild Turtle.
I think they should go for the Tristana if it's open, because they first round rotation that Lucian, and I thought that Vasily on Tristana was just so convincing. Why would you give that up? He's undefeated on it currently in the NALCS. Why? Like, that's a big question for me, is why would you do that? He went to try and go beat the lane. He did by about 30 CS, but it's still Tristana. Tristana in the meta currently, in the way she is, she will get all of these resets. She will scale into the late game and just shred through a team. I don't know why they did that.
And this time, TSM had the tools to protect that Tristana. Yeah. Ori with the shields, Nami with the healing and the disengage, as well as Rise with the Rune Prison. So there was a lot of safety there built in for the Tristana. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see if they can test that pick in the next game. I do want to jump into one more replay before we get out of this game. 26 minutes in, we see a nice 4-for-0 by TSM up in the red side jungle of LMQ. It's a pretty good example of their shot calling and the way that they can turn a fight. We're going to pull that up on your screen right now. Probably, I'm going to let you take this one.
So this fight actually looks really good for LMQ just because it's a 5v4 right now. Dyrus is still dead, so he doesn't have TP. So the fight initiates where they're trying to pick off more, and they end up hoping the Orianna ult will hit more. And at this point, it's a 4v4, and they don't have Ori ult. So LMQ is still feeling really good about this fight. They have Yasuo ult, so they start going back in. And TSM does a great job spacing and then immediately re-engaging when Ackerman gets too far out. And then boom, Blessed Boy gets his bubble because he doesn't miss that kind of thing. And then they just clean up the fight, and it's beautiful.
Now, it seemed like at that point in the game that it was unwinnable for LMQ, given the fact that they were against Tristana and Rise. And we did see TSM close it out pretty soon after that, but LMQ stayed very aggressive. Is that a misstep? Should they have tried to stall it out, or is it really just, you know what, we have to put up a last stand somewhere and see if we can take a fight?
If you're going to take a 5v4, I think that's where you do it. You take it at that point. And I think that the fact that LMQ never plays like they're behind, they're always contesting things. I think that the Baron was a little too over-aggressive from them when they went in, and they didn't have vision control of it. They didn't have a jungler. Xiao was just looking for Bjergsen. I think that was too aggressive of a play, and they shouldn't have done that. But that play right there, I think it could have worked out for them if they had positioned and actually had Yasuo ultimate up for that fight and had landed it. But Blessed Boy was right on top of it, and it also was on cooldown from the Dyrus gank bottom.
Well, here's hoping that both of these teams stay hungry and stay aggressive, because we've got more of this adrenaline-packed semifinal coming up with Game 3 between LMQ versus TSM. The NALCS continues right after this.